Spoiler alert, we spoil movies in this show. Specifically, we talk about Legion, at least the first 3 episodes, and then we go on to talk about a lot of X-Men films. We kind of spoil Watchmen.
Yes.
We spoil Congo and Deep Blue Sea.
Yes.
But yeah, so specifically those ones, Legion and X-Men films, you haven't seen them, go watch them, take a break, and then come back and watch the show. You've been warned.
Yeah.
Okay, so after spending years just being at Magneto in the comic books, if you remember, the X-Men, they finally made it to the big screen around 2000, which was a long time ago. Back then, the superhero genre really wasn't the box office slam dunk it is now, which meant that Hollywood wasn't really taking any chances with it. They were being safe. Back then, the X-Men went live action, and their Dayglow spandex had been traded in for black pleather jumpsuits. You kind of almost got the idea that everyone involved was a little embarrassed to be there. In fact, some of them even said that they were embarrassed a little bit. But that was nearly 20 years ago. Now, audiences, and not just nerds either, but normal people who don't buy comics, they know what to expect when they buy their tickets for those kind of movies. Some even say they're getting kind of bored with it. But since the genre has become so prevalent, we're kind of finally seeing studios take bigger chances with their superhero properties. Deadpool, Logan, and now thanks to the good folks at FX, we finally got that batshit crazy show, Legion. Guys, this show is so fucking weird, and I am so in love with it. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Enjoy the Show. This episode is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. I'm John, and I'm joined with
Gus
and
Tyler.
You guys excited to talk about movies?
Yeah!
Well, we're going to talk about TV shows instead.
What?
So today we're talking about Legion. It's the new show on FX. We're taping this on a Thursday, and the 4th episode just came out last night. Gus, you've seen that episode.
Yes.
Tyler and I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I'm enjoying it a lot, which is why I wanted to make an entire episode about it. Part of what's great about it is, and we'll talk about this more in depth, is that it's an adaptation of a comic book character and a comic book property, but really doesn't just scream that it's an adaptation, or like it doesn't scream that it's just a copy of the comic. I'm sure, and in fact, most people don't even realize it's based on an actual.
Yeah, I don't really follow comics, and I had no idea. Like, the only reason I thought maybe is because there's an X in the O in Legion. I was like, oh, is this like an X-Men thing? So I looked it up. I was like, oh, I guess it's related. But yeah, in the show, no connection, no mention.
There's like little subtle things, I think, that like maybe mention like the X-Men. Like that one yellow room they're in, that therapy room. Like there's an X in the window. Like, I don't know if that's really a nod to it.
They even say the word mutant, which is a word that's most often used in the X-Men world.
The complexity that we're kind of talking about in the intro, like, taking a chance. I think that's one of the reasons this show is going to be successful and people like it, is because with most of the X-Men movies, you know the bad guy in the first few seconds of the film.
Yeah.
You pretty much know how it's going to end, and people are kind of getting tired of that. And like you said, they're taking chances by doing shows like this. And this one, we were kind of talking about this earlier. Gus, you said that one of the things you liked about it is like the non-linear storylines. Like, you don't really know what's going on. It's very much like Mr. Robot in that, and I love that ride of like, I'm not even trying to figure it out. I just want to sit back and I just want to like really just watch this.
Yeah, it's super crazy non-linear. Like, it's telling the story in a non-linear fashion, and then there's other people observing the non-linear story in a non-linear fashion.
Well, there'll be not only just different timelines being told in an episode, but there'll be different timelines in the same scene.
Right.
And like intercut and overlaid over each other.
And there's different aspect ratios too. Like, sometimes it's widescreen, it's that cinematic, and then sometimes you're looking through like a television set. Like, it's really cool. And I don't know what it means, I don't really care, but like it has flashes of like almost like a little bit of Kubrick. Like, setting up the lighting, the way it goes, like it's like Space Odyssey. So like, it's all my favorite things, and I'm loving it.
You know who actually it's reminding me a little bit of the style, and the showrunner is Noah Hawley, who also did the Fargo TV series on FX. But it's very Wes Anderson in some instances, where
the colors,
I
can totally see that.
Even that aspect ratio you talked about, he did that in Grand Budapest Hotel, where he had different aspect ratios in the film.
Did it in Life Aquatic.
Yeah. Randomness showing up as part of, I think, Wes Anderson's like flavor. So yeah, it could feel like Noah and his team are pulling from a lot of people to make a very eclectic show.
I will say, I felt like it's been kind of a slow burn and kind of a slow start. I think the pilot was an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And I felt like that one probably could have been tightened up a bit. I thought, it was a little long in the tooth as far as exposition goes. But with the 4th episode, I feel like we're finally starting to get some payoff. I know you haven't seen it yet. But I think, there's a good build between the first 3, and you're starting to see a little more payoff now. How many, is it 8 episodes?
Is that it?
I would imagine it's a short season, yeah.
That makes me sad. I wanted to go on.
No, but that's good. I like that. I think that's one of the things I love the most about like Stranger Things is that it was so short and that it just leaves you wanting more.
Yeah.
The adventure to continue.
I
feel like this one will do it as well. Like, do you want to predict stuff? Like, I'm curious about the relationship between Sid and David. Like, I feel like one of 2 things. Like, she's gonna die and then transfer over to somebody else. Or like I don't really know what's gonna happen to her. Like, and I love that. Or maybe like the payoff for them like actually kissing and loving each other is gonna be far down the road. Or I don't know. Do you think we get that payoff? Well, I know they already kissed, but I'm
now
saying
they know the consequence.
Yeah.
I'm saying like if David can control his power, I think that we're gonna see that where he's able to control it and they are able to kiss and she doesn't transfer over.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting skill with when filmmakers can do a sequence kind of like when they kissed in the 1st episode, where something happens in the show that just goes insane, and you literally leave the audience just not knowing what the hell's going on, and then you just kind of start laying out layers of explanation over the course of like the next few scenes that you start understanding what's happening, and there's not an immediate reveal of like what exactly occurred, but then the payoff at the end is like, oh, they swap bodies. David has powers that she wasn't able to control, which then resulted in things like walls being built and people being teleported halfway through walls and that kind of thing.
I think the way that they handle David having powers and not knowing it and thinking that he has mental problems was really interesting. That he thinks he's schizophrenic because he hears all these voices, but you realize he's just telepathic and he just hears everyone's thoughts.
Yeah.
Like then the voices aren't in his head, the voices are everyone around him.
We'll see if that's actually true as well.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, there would.
So I come from the perspective, we got a few ways of watching this, and I'm from the perspective of someone who reads the comics and can take, it's kind of like watching Game of Thrones and knowing what's coming ahead a little bit and kind of be able to do that. Same with like Walking Dead. But so I'm starting to see things of them pulling more stuff from the comic, and I can kind of tell where they're going to go, but I don't want to ruin it for people and tell you like, nope, it might be this, it might not be what you think.
So there's, and kind of to your point, Gus, about how they reveal his powers. Like for me, knowing it was kind of about X-Men, I thought I'm like, I don't want this guy to just be like Professor X.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's the route they were taking, but then they reveal more powers.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, where is this thing gonna go to?
Yeah, and the scene in episode 3 when they're in the memory and he teleports them to the other room, and that's when their revelation is like, you don't, because they'd already been like, oh, you have telekinesis, which is still like in the telepathic
he has like the
area.
3 T's, basically. Like, he can teleport, telekinesis, and telepathy.
But then on top of that, he was able to do the thing like make the walls inside the building, and I think him being able to see the future has been shown now, where he has a little bit of precog abilities. So they're revealing a little bit at a time.
So basically he has all of them. He can't fly. He still has to take a bus like everyone else.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, one of the cooler things about it is like it still leaves a lot. It's not just going to be obviously a story about his powers. You're going to learn more about the other characters. I'm fascinated though by when he says he can hear the stars. Like I'm really interested in what that means, and like is he pulling some other creature from outer space?
I forget.
Like,
did you say you'd seen episode 4 yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Just curious. No, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, I'm excited now. I kind of want to leave the show and go watch it right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, should we take a break? No, it's. I spoke on about it in like the little monologue, but I love that we've kind of gone through some of the basic parts of the superhero characters and that kind of thing. We've gotten our Wolverines out of the way, and we've gotten our Iron Man, and now we can do things like let's do a movie about Deadpool and just be fucking weird about it and really like get to have some fun with it. Same with Legion. They're now getting to pull from some more obscure titles and get into, I think, interesting characters that people don't know about, so they don't know what to expect. Like people had heard of Wolverine a little bit, and so doing a Wolverine, they know what to expect, but no one's ever heard of David and the name Legion from X-Men, and so they can do things about the repercussions of the audience already knowing what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I felt like they kind of already did that in a big way with Guardians of the Galaxy.
There you go.
That was already, like, I had no idea what the fuck Guardians of the Galaxy was, and it looked so stupid to me, but I watched it. It was great.
Yeah. Guardians, I think, is a great example of another person's voice getting to take a stab at Marvel's very crafted world. Like, Marvel is very picky with how their world's being done, and I think James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, got to get a little more fun with it, which is why I think Guardians of the Galaxy is the best Marvel film still.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
I would agree with that. And it's really interesting because you kind of come into you know, a lot of the X-Men movies with preconceived notions. That character development's already there, and so it kind of gets boring because you kind of you know that he's going through a lot of pain and he has these crazy memories and stuff like that. Like, the character development basically is the first 3 episodes. You're just it's literally just David, and Legion, which I love, and now I like really care about him, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
Dan Stevens, who's the lead in Legion, is this kind of, I think he's gonna, a few years down the line, gonna be the, you know, up there in the world of Brad Pitt's and Tom Cruise and that kind of thing.
That's some high praise.
I think
he is really good.
He was in Downton Abbey, and people loved him in that. He was the Matthew in Downton Abbey, and those who watched that show loved it.
God, that show.
Maggie Smith's in it. I watched it. Okay.
It's just so
British.
So boring and British.
It's so British, and I love it.
It's so, I don't give a fuck about anybody in that house. And why should I?
I love it.
What is that show about? Can somebody, I'm sure I'm pissing off a lot of people.
That
Everybody
show is
loves
called
that show.
Rich British People Problems.
Oh, Jesus.
Totally relatable.
Yeah, exactly. We all go through that all the time.
But he was great in that, and then he basically left, and he got killed off to go do movies. He's one of those guys who's like, I'm gonna go do movies. And he's done a few, and I think the only one that I really saw was The Guest, which he plays like this ex-military guy, and he gets all beefy and sexy, and there's a scene where he comes out with his shirt off out of the shower, and it's fantastic. But he's just a great character in that, and then when they announced that he was gonna be in Legion, I was excited. Aubrey Plaza's in Legion.
She's great.
Who
She's
also
awesome.
is this random career of a person where, you know, everyone kind of learned about her in Parks and Rec, but then she just pops up in random stuff like Scott Pilgrim and things like Legion.
I think she's good. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything and I thought like, oh, she wasn't good. Or
She's always
solid.
She's always really good.
Plays a great crazy girl in Legion.
So, and I'm loving the new, I guess her name is it Rachel Kellner, the actress that plays Sid?
She's so good.
I'm like in love with her. I love you so much. If you're watching this,
She's
Rachel,
not.
I love you. You're amazing. I love her so much. And I want to know more about her story too. And I really want them to get together. I don't want to be too vulgar about it, but I get really interested in like, I love it when people do it. Like, I visibly, like, I cheer. Like when Jon Snow hooked up with Ingrid, spoiler, in Game of Thrones, I was like clapping.
Egret.
I was Ingrid. Sorry. What am I saying?
Egret.
You're saying Ingrid. It's
I don't
Egret.
care. They did it, Gus. Like, that was so exciting. I root for people to like. I'm a lover.
I thought it was a really cool way that they showed the connection between David and Sid. Like they couldn't hold hands, so they would like each hold like that piece of cloth.
Yeah.
It was
and they're
very
walking
sweet.
around that
It was
way.
very sweet. Yeah, the show is so tonally shifty, but in a way that I don't know, it doesn't make you get confused throughout the show. You kind of keep rolling with it. Like,
Oh, I get confused. I get confused as fuck all the time.
but do you enjoy the confusion?
yeah, that's good. That's,
Yes,
yeah.
It's intriguing confusion.
Right.
Not like, I'm upset. This is confusing. I don't know where I'm at, and I don't like this. It's more like, ooh, they've shifted again. What's going to happen? You know, why are they doing a Bollywood dance in the middle of an episode?
Oh yeah,
That was so good. And for anybody watching it, I really think you should just enjoy the ride. Like, don't try and figure it out. Like, I think it's way better if you do it that way. Like, I'm just loving it. I have no fucking clue what's going on, and it's awesome.
I did. Scott, who writes a lot of our stuff for the show, he did text me. He's trying to figure out who the fat guy inside his head is. And I don't know how much more they revealed in episode 4, but he made a guess that he was a character from the comic Mojo. And I'm saying no, it's not Mojo. They're not a storyline that crosses. But I like that. There's already that mystery of who is this? What is this guy? Do you have theories on that, Tyler?
I do. Like, again, I'm fascinated with the stars conversation. It's only appeared twice, but like, I think twice or 2 or 3, yeah, maybe a third time. But like, what does he mean when he said I can talk to the stars? Like, I'm hearing voices from the stars.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a larger universe and some evil stuff out there that was able to come in to David's universe. Like, that's what I'm wondering what
I
it
love
is.
this. I like talking to people who know nothing about comics, making guesses about the comics. It's fantastic.
get to,
no,
yeah,
it's fun.
I have no
Because I don't get to
idea.
interpret it that way. It's like when you go see a Harry Potter movie and you've read it, there's no mystery interpretation of stuff. You kind of know what's going into it. And so with X-Men, I pretty much know whenever they hint at anybody, I can tell you the backstory of that person from start to finish. But I'd love to hear like a fresh perspective on it. And I wish sometimes you could turn off that part of your brain when you're watching adaptations, because there is enjoyment in, I think, seeing something you've read being brought to life. But then there's also fun in just going in blind.
Yeah, like I think about that sometimes when I watch, like you said, adaptations, if it's a story I already know, or even if I think about going back and rewatching a movie or a series I've already seen, like I wish I could delete that bit of knowledge from my head, or I wish I could turn it off and experience this again for the first time, or come into this without any baggage or watching it.
Do you read Stephen King?
I read some when I was in high school.
See, I feel bad for people that are like religious fans of his because he's made pretty much every movie you've ever seen. Like I think he's made like 58. 58 of his novels have been made into adaptations for the silver screen, which is insane.
Not always like very literally though. Like,
No, and he mixes it up a lot. Like one of his most infamous ones was The Shining. Kubrick took that a completely different direction from what that book was.
Yeah.
And Stephen King hated it.
I was also thinking of like The Running Man.
Yeah, that's a complete
Stephen
diversion.
King wrote The Running Man.
Yes.
The Schwarzenegger film?
Totally different
Yes.
though. Not at all the same.
He's written Shawshank, Green Mile, Pet Cemetery, what else? The Mist, Stand By Me. Like,
Yeah, I know
he's
those.
literally made every movie.
Running Man.
Running Man.
Yeah.
What a great Schwarzenegger film.
It was. I love art.
The aesthetic of that film could not have screamed more 80s, I guess is what it is.
If you ever played the video game Smash TV, I always felt like Smash TV was just like a direct ripoff of like Running Man.
Yeah, very much so.
What are y'all's favorite adaptations? Like book that was
Adaptation.
made? Yeah. Adaptation. I love that movie.
It's a great film, but I don't think it's actually an
I actually
adaptation.
didn't like it. I'm not,
You didn't
again,
like
that's
it? That was Cage's best film he's ever done.
So
in my
good.
opinion. He's
So good.
Awesome. in
that
that.
wasn't Nicolas Cage's best film.
I think it.
National
no.
Treasure?
No, I think his best performance was adaptation, hands down.
Hands down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Which I will say is a film I enjoyed, actually. I like Sorcerer's Apprentice.
I'm loving these
Judge
memes.
me, just judge me.
There's memes online of him like zoom into my forehead type thing with Cage, like with the little text, and it's all about finding the Declaration. it's turned into a cult, and I love it.
National Treasure is actually a good movie, I
Yeah,
think.
but seriously, all right. So what are your favorite adaptations?
Favorite adaptation? I actually really enjoyed Watchmen.
Yeah, I do too. I know we're in the minority in that.
I liked Watchmen. I had some issues with it, but I like what they did with the ending.
Yeah.
And I felt like it definitely cleaned that up.
Oh yeah, Watchmen is that's such a good point. Watchmen is one of those movies that changed the ending of the original source drastically, and therefore upgraded it so much more enjoyable for the movie audience by doing so. And often, if you do that, you can really upset the fan base of the source material. But I think sometimes that's part of adaptation, and I think that's part of where Legion takes a good bit from, is that if you mess with the source material to make it work for TV or film and it works, then you're doing your job. You're adapting it correctly. V for Vendetta is another great example that V for Vendetta is a comic book. And in the comic book, the V character, Hugo Weaving's character in the movie, is a psychopath and not really charming, charismatic. He's really he's a terrorist is what he is. And not in the lovable terrorist way that he is in V for Vendetta. And they made him much more charming and like a magnetic personality and had much more interesting monologues and that kind of thing. Kind of similar to Hammond in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You read Jurassic Park or Lost World, the books, and then you go, actually I read them after I saw the movie. I was like, these are different stories.
I did the same thing. You and I had the exact same experience.
Lost
who
World
is
is
Hammond?
batshit
So who
different.
is
Hammond
Hammond?
is the grandfather.
No, I know, but like, how is he
he's
different?
he's very much
evil. He's bad. And
Like they made him very Santa grandpa.
Yeah,
in the
it's
film.
very much about the bottom line and profits. And,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Which
He's
fits
not likable.
engine, so it would make sense that he
But
spanned no
that's-
expense.
And he, spoiler for the book, he dies in the book, right? He gets
Yeah,
eaten by the little dinosaurs.
Yeah.
which the little girl, spoiler, gets eaten in the beginning in Lost World.
Yeah, the movie Lost World and the book Lost World probably share about maybe 20% of material, and the rest is just like Lost World, the movie, pulls a little bit from Jurassic Park and so on and so forth. Like, the people who made the screenplays for Jurassic Park 1 and 2 really just Frankenstein the whole thing.
I liked Lost World up until when Jeff Goldblum's daughter does the gymnastics.
Worst part of the film.
To kill a fucking velociraptor. Could they, and that's Spielberg, baby. You really couldn't come up with a better solution to, like, how?
It really is like a pause in the movie.
You're like, what the fuck,
because they're in that building, and the raptors are really creating some tension by like attacking them and that kind of thing.
And she feels it. She walks around, she's like dead-eyed, and she's got it.
It was them trying to do that Linux moment.
Yeah.
From the first one.
This Unix system, I noticed.
Unix.
So you have, I like moments like that because it's like the universal, like, what the fuck am I watching moment. Like in Spider-Man 3, the dance sequence.
Oh, it's like at the cafe.
Thing. Yeah, where you're
the
like,
emo.
Yeah,
oh, that's so good.
The pie is so good, and then like the dancing, you're like, what the fuck is this?
It's that moment where you're watching the movie and you just have to look and see if everyone else is watching what you're watching too.
You get that uncomfortable, like anxious pin needles, like.
Is this happening? This is happening. We're all experiencing this?
Is everyone else hate it, right?
Oh,
is anybody enjoying it?
That's when adaptation goes wrong.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. What about you, Gus? Like, what do you like?
I don't know. I really don't think a lot about adaptations. Like in my mind, I always keep them very separate. Like they're very distinct works. I know lots of times you draw from it. I'm more of a fan of rebooting or reimagining stuff. Like I don't like just taking a script or taking a source material and then making it, page for page on screen.
Yeah.
I like it when someone's willing to like take it, like we're kind of talking about with Legion here. It's like, okay, this is kind of the framework we have, but let's just totally fuck with everything and try to tell a different story,
like Snyder
tell a better
does.
story. Yes.
Like Snyder with 300 Watchmen. I mean, Watchmen less, but 300 is like almost literal pulled from the pages.
Watchmen is as literal pulled as you can get.
Except for the ending.
Question.
Except for the end.
Spoiler right here. Spoiler question. Does Rorschach not die in the end?
He does.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
So what's different with the
Oh,
end?
that's one of my
I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Have the right to criticize some of the stuff that Snyder does, but I think Snyder does create great moments. He may not create entire great films that are one big piece, but he creates great moments. And Rorschach's death in Watchmen.
So good.
So awesome.
Such just one of the best deaths in movie history. Like that actor, I can't remember who's normally.
That's Kelly from Bad News Bears.
He's normally a character actor.
Yeah.
And he's from San Antonio?
He's really good.
His scream of like, do it, when he's like screaming at Dr. Manhattan.
So good. So good.
So it's been a while since I've read the comic, but and correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the ending in the original material is that it's intergalactic aliens from another dimension have been controlling everything the whole time.
It's like a squid monster that attacks New York and everything.
This sounds like Iron Man.
It gets like very tentacly, and even reading it, you're like,
Yeah.
this is not what I expected at the end of Watchmen and all of like the themes that it was
just
introducing.
like you're like, this is awesome, it's really cool. Whoa. You just totally go off
Making
to
the end
another
of Watchmen,
direction.
the movie, be about Ozymandias uniting everybody around one common enemy, and the fact that Dr. Manhattan understood that and was like, does a huge wrong make a right. That was such a good poetic ending to the film, but
it makes me think about when you talk about like major left turns. Like when I was a kid, like I never saw the trailers for From Dusk Till Dawn. I had no reference for what that movie was, and so when I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, it's a heist movie, and then you're like, vampire? You're like, what the fuck? You're like, did not see that coming whatsoever. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites, but like that was definitely like, if you have no context going into something like that, it is pretty funny to be like, am I going crazy?
This is not an adaptation, but this is another movie that I just have to plug because of what you're talking about, left turns in movies, and I won't give away too much about the movie, but I recently watched a movie called Spring, and it was one of Draft House's productions, the movies that they actually produce and distribute. Movie starts off about 40 minutes in as a sad drama that turns into a romance, and then about 40 minutes in, you realize it's a monster romance. And it is fantastic.
So my favorite one of those
left turn
is Drive, because I went into Drive the same way. Like when I was watching, I was like, all right, it's just like about this guy who's.
What was the left turn that got you?
He's like a love story, right?
Yeah.
And then he curb stomps the guy in the elevator and goes on a murder spree. You're like, holy shit, this movie is like super violent now. Like, and it's just like murder porn for the last half.
That is literally someone just finger on the dial the entire film for the violence, and then at that moment just goes, just shoves it up and keeps it over the rest of the film.
That is hands down one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. I think I told you before, it makes me want to have afternoon sex in LA with a hooker. And then go out and do something devious at night. It is
That's a very specific sex.
It is so fucking good.
You do it. You can do it, man.
You're
an adult. You've got a credit card.
Do we have the budget to send Tyler to LA to have afternoon sex?
Would you guys pay
We don't
for
have the budget.
Tyler's
hooker?
co-eds?
It doesn't have
What
to
if
be
we film it? What if we film it?
Doesn't have to be a good hooker.
Patrick said if we film it, we can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, RT Life.
To swing it back to adaptation and Legion and everything, I do want to discuss how Legion fares up to the rest of X-Men films thus far, because it is part of that.
Oh, can I make a guilty confession now that we're talking about this kind of universe?
Yeah.
I didn't think Apocalypse was terrible.
Gus, I didn't even
Okay.
I didn't see that
I'm not going to
movie.
judge. Why? Why was it not terrible?
I mean, it was like, all right, it was definitely the weakest of the films, but it wasn't like I'm going to walk out of the theater and I'm just going to stop watching. It's like, all right, it's like eye candy. It's like junk food.
Okay.
It's like, all right, it's interesting looking. It's all right.
I will totally admit that I would say a huge part of my resentment to bad X-Men films comes from X-Men being my favorite fantasy fictional series ever of all time. And so when they started making the films, that was a dream come true. X-Men was my shit since I was like 7 years old. And so the first X-Men film, lost my shit. Second one was just fantastic. And then after that, the questionable choices they've made since then have just been like stabs to my childhood heart.
Some of those Wolverine movies, man.
You mean all the Wolverine movies?
God, yeah, all of them. Which is the one? So, which is the one where he goes to Japan?
The Wolverine.
The Wolverine.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. You mean the Wolverine movie where he doesn't have his powers the whole film? Because
Yes.
that always works out.
Yes.
Iron Man 2, let's just not have him in the suit for the majority of the film.
All right.
Was that 2 or is that 3?
That was 2.
That was 2. Yeah.
So the question I have for you, because this is where I can't get into a movie like Apocalypse. I didn't see it. I didn't need to see it because the trailer gave it away. Let me ask you, did they all die in the end?
No.
Nope. Never fucking. Is that the same ending as every X-Men movie? Nobody fucking dies.
X-Men First Class, Darwin died.
No, yeah, oh yeah, Darwin.
The X-Men that's mutant powers to survive anything died.
Oh, right.
Because that makes sense.
That's why I couldn't get into it. I'm like, oh, there's gonna be some way they save the day, and I don't give a fuck.
You can say that about any superhero movie. Any superhero movie, a superhero wins.
Havoc died
Sometimes.
in beginning of Apocalypse. So one X-Men did die at the very
When X-Men
beginning.
died, I'm gonna go see
sure
that.
In a movie
I'm sure Havoc was your
about
favorite.
the apocalypse and the end of all things, one guy died at the
guy's
beginning.
There's a movie about a character named Apocalypse,
Yeah.
not a movie about the apocalypse.
Well, he's called the apocalypse,
I'm just saying, there's a difference there.
but he is trying to end the world
He
at the
is
end.
trying.
Does he end the world?
No.
No,
Nope,
but
he doesn't.
Magneto almost ends the world, and then everyone forgives him again.
He's just a bad boy you want to love. You
Again.
can change him.
Just again. This is what that's what probably why I love Legion so much, is that X-Men has made such questionable choices in the last, let's say, 3 films. Future Past was good and bad, and same with First Class for me. But Legion is it's a good title from the comics, and they're just doing a great job of just going, you know what, we're gonna fuck around with it and still make nods to the X-Men world, but this is gonna be our own thing.
Yeah, and I want to do a shout out to because I was kind of telling you, I wasn't high on watching the show, and it's not like I'm a big I'm not like anti comic books or like any of that universe. I love that stuff, but that's not me. I have no context going into this, so I would say for people who don't know anything about it or as deep into X-Men as you, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah,
And,
there's no need for any
nothing.
external
No,
knowledge.
you can just jump into this and just love it right away. Like you don't need to know anything.
And in comparing it to other superhero TV shows, I love the superhero TV shows. Flash was great, season 1, maybe 2, and stuff like that. But it doesn't rely on spectacle as far as the powers. It's not a superpower movie where it's just like every episode has to have a big or any fight scene or superpower like big moment. His abilities and the weirdness is subtle, and the show is about character and story and that kind of thing, which is where the base should always be. And it's why, I think you can do this for 8 episodes and not just get people bored of seeing, just special effects over and over again.
I saw a talk given by someone who like works at Marvel doing like world building, and he talked about how like that's one of the approaches that they have is talking about the human and superhuman, like who's the flawed person under the mask, you know, because that's a lot more relatable than just like a mask that flies around and can do cool shit.
Again, that goes back to Guardians of the Galaxy. You like the flawed hero, and that was that entire group. Like they weren't just some, you know. I told you before, John. Like I just can't do Captain America. I hate the goody two shoes guy, always gonna do right, and you know I want that conflicted character.
Well, I think they do that. At least in the films on purpose to set up Civil War. It's like then you create that divide.
I'm just saying, like in my rank of superheroes, he's at the fucking bottom.
He's down there with Superman.
It's funny.
Yes.
It's funny you say that about wanting to focus on the human because the writer for Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse, recently released a statement where he confessed to some of the flaws in Apocalypse, and his confession was about how they got a little bit too enamored with this idea of a world exploding event at the end, as opposed to focusing on the more.
Because we've never seen that before.
Yeah, and that's what he says. He pokes fun at that. He goes, you can see that. He even says you can see that in every single video game you ever want to play. We shouldn't have focused on that in the film. It should have been more about the human interaction.
Deep impact.
Which is what I'm hoping Logan is when I go see it tonight. I want Logan to be less about snick, you know, that kind of thing. I want that. But I want to also have a good story. I want good character interaction.
If they don't all die, I'm gonna be pissed. I like it when everybody dies. It's my favorite thing. I'm a nihilist. We're all gonna die.
You must hate Disney movies.
I hate Disney movies. No,
A lot of people die in Disney
I love
movies.
Up.
Yeah.
All right,
Man,
someone dies in Up.
Man,
That's
I
right.
was thinking about a fucked up joke about Up. I'm not gonna say it.
Say it.
Nope, not gonna do it anymore. You'll have to come find me so I can tell you that joke one-on-one.
So if you buy your ticket to RTX, you can come see.
Everyone who sees Tyler, make sure you ask him for his Up joke.
I love Up.
Just say, hey, what's up, Tyler?
It's good. Okay, guys, before we get to comments, got a little something to say. There's no reason that any of you should use a cheap disposable razor. Or on the other hand, pay like a really ridiculous high price for some gimmicky thing that's got like a laser pointer on it so you can target on your face with like 17 rotating blades of ranging accuracy. You just make the better choice and go join Dollar Shave Club like I did. Before Dollar Shave Club, it was either save money and get, you know, questionable red burning shave, like you know, from the disposal ones they give away like at the store, which felt like kind of shaving with a piece of glass that had been rubbed on a homeless person. Or you pay a fortune at one of those like those hipster stores with like new shave breakthrough, and I don't need that because no one needs that. Dollar Shave Club, they're the best of both worlds. And you get a premium shave at a good price, at a disposable price. I just shaved this morning, got my neck nice looking clean, using their shave butter. I never used shave butter before Dollar Shave Club. Butter is good. And I love it. It feels so good. And I love their razor, and then they have that post-shave lotion that feels so good on my skin. Guys, you can get a close, smooth shave every time, and you can't beat the convenience or the price of the club. If you haven't tried it, you're missing out. And you can get an amazable and affordable shave at an amazable, affordable price. There's no real smarter choice in the market. Right now, we're going to give away a 1-month free trial of any of their razors for $1. It's because they have like a range of razors. You can get the really nice fancy ones for $1 with free shipping. After that, it's just a few bucks a month. There's no long-term commitments, no hidden fees, and you can cancel whenever you want. I've gotten to the point where I don't shave as often as I need to get through all the razors, so I kind of have taken breaks on some days, and they're great about it. Then you go back and you get your razors again. You can get your $1 trial at dollarshaveclub.com/enjoy. That is dollarshaveclub.com/enjoy. Highly recommend their products if you have any hairy spots in your body that should not be hairy for any reason. They can keep that tagline.
That's a freebie.
That was a freebie. That was a freebie for Dollar Shave Club. I'm just marketing for them. Okay, so
Good one.
we're gonna do comments.
Yeah.
You've got your comments figured out. I'm pulling up mine.
All right, I'll start us off.
Wait, we got a timer. I want to pull mine up. I got to get in a Google Drive.
Pull it out, show it to me.
You don't want to see it.
Because you can't see it.
Nope.
It's like a giant
What's
bundle
smaller
of hair.
than a
It's
microphone?
just
Just
like a gunner.
Like a little needle.
Like an inverted penis. Not a vagina, but just an inverted penis.
It's an innie.
It's a Lego man dick.
It's an innie. They don't have dicks.
Just smooth.
Just a smooth.
It's
a mound.
Alan Rickman in Dogma.
Oh my God, yes.
That's so disturbing to see that.
Yeah.
Or did you see Pop Star Never Stop Stopping?
No.
Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Never Stop, Never Stopping. When he tucks.
I meant to see it.
Right, Gus?
You know that movie only made like $9 million?
It made no money.
But it was really
$9
good.
million. It was so good.
Yeah, we're ready. So we got
It's
timer.
like Hot Rod. Like, you seen Hot Rod?
Okay.
I haven't, but I hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Timer's on the clock for comments. I'll let Tyler start as soon as we see the clock. There you go.
Oh.
Go, Tyler.
All right, so I talked a lot about David Fincher. David Fincher, this comes in from a syndicated man. David Fincher is a fantastic director, but a majority of his films are based on books, so the twists aren't his ideas originally. I'd agree with you. Yeah, I wasn't trying to make that point so much, but he has twisted a little bit. Fight Club wasn't supposed to end that way. He changed up The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That's a different ending than in the book. So he makes subtle changes. I just think he's the best at presenting.
Yeah, visual style. Yeah,
Yes.
you can't adapt that.
He's such a poser. I love David Fincher, actually. I can't even joke about it. I love him. I like this one. Gaffgarian said, 2016 was actually a pretty good year for horror. Didn't even realize until just now. Lists off Don't Breathe, 10 Cloverfield Lane, The Conjuring 2, and Morgan. We'll question those. But The Witch, Green Room, Split. I didn't get into horror films until really like this last year, and I gotta agree, there was a lot of good horror films. You're smiling.
I love The Goat in The Witch. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
Stole the show from me.
It's so good, so
Goat's
good.
freaky.
All right, so thoughts on Identity, the movie that came out in 2003, directed by James Mangold.
John Cusack, love it.
Yeah, there's more than one twist. Can make you love the film or feel like it's trying too hard. No, I thought that movie was awesome. I think it's totally underrated.
I don't want to go rewatch it because it's one of those movies that I think if I rewatched it, it's actually bad.
No, I think it's good.
Aphrodactyl said, I watched Good Will Hunting last night, so I got your joke immediately, Tyler. Well done. Please don't encourage him from doing these bad jokes.
So
no one
good.
got the joke. It went right over his head.
So
it was a bad
fucking
joke.
funny.
You got another one?
Yes.
Quick, 30 seconds.
Okay, I'd like to see an episode or at least a topic about different kinds of trailers. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, we might do that. We've talked about that one.
That comes in from Nia Laura.
Let's see. Psycho Sweetheart said, quote, modern sequels are having a hard time. Captain America, Winter Soldier. I agree. I hate saying generalizations like that. Winter Soldier was fantastic. There are exceptions to the rule.
Okay. Do we need the countdown, really?
There was a lion in secondhand lions. It was defective because it was a female and they wanted to hunt it.
Stop. I can't hear myself. Like, I literally can't hear myself talk.
The countdown's part of the fun.
I didn't.
You didn't have any more comments.
No, I did. I was going to talk about secondhand lions. Whatever.
I actually thought about that after the show. It was like there was one lion in secondhand lions.
I was going to say I didn't see a fucking lion in that movie at all. There's no lions in that movie.
The lion?
There's no lion.
Lying about lions?
I'm lying about lions.
Okay, so that's the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. If you guys want us to, respond to some of your comments, we'll still be going on to the show page on roosterteeth.com to answer comments. If you want for us to answer comments from this episode, go on this episode, leave a comment, and you might see it in the next episode. That made total sense.
I got it. I got you.
While it's true that we're probably getting too many superhero movies and TV shows these days, we're a ways out from announcing the death of the comic book genre. Let's be honest. This thing's got plenty of life left in it, and as long as studios and networks keep taking the kind of chance they're taking with FX has taken with Legion, it's totally possible that the superhero genre could stick around just as long as like the Western, which is basically for fucking ever, because those are still being made. So, I'll raise a glass or a can. Here's to you, FX, Noah Hawley, Dan Stevens, and everyone else who's busting their ass to make Legion a possibility. May your brass balls shine bright, and may your show run for 6 seasons in a movie. Cheers. Thank you, Gus and Tyler, for coming in and chit-chatting about some fun movie and TV stuff.
The pleasure was all yours.
Thank you for joining us for the episode. We hope to see you next week. Bye. Don't forget, don't enjoy the show. Enjoy the show.